Hey, good morning, everyone. Dr. Dan Graham coming right back at you once again, and I'm joined with our resident expert on health, Dr. Alan Bradford from downtown Gilbert Healthcare. So, Doc, we're going to be talking about acupuncture.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of patients coming in, and they have questions about this ancient way of healing. It dates back thousands of years.
Thousands. Yeah, for sure.
So, explain what acupuncture is. And we'll just go with that.
Yeah, so it seems like, over my years of practicing, I always seem to get the same kind of handful of questions. So I wanted to sit down and do kind of a frequently asked questions about acupuncture. One question that I get right away is, how does this work? What is it doing?
Hey, you're sticking needles in me. What's this supposed to do?
Yeah, so what I've been telling patients, there's kind of two different worlds: traditional Chinese medicine explanation of what's going on, and then some of the things that we found in more recent research that might fit better with our kind of Western medicine mindset. So if you talk to a Chinese acupuncturist, they always talk about qi, right? Moves the qi. Acupuncture moves the qi. What is qi? So qi, in some English translations coming over from the ancient textbooks and everything, qi is translated into the word energy. So it moves energy through the body. Another translation that I've seen is that qi can mean oxygen. So if you think about what moves oxygen in our body, it's our blood, our red blood cells, right? So for me, that, it can move energy, it can also kind of redirect blood flow, which, like from an injury and stuff, if we get blood flow to an area, it can help accelerate healing. So there's that explanation, right? The Chinese medicine explanation. More modern research has shown that putting in acupuncture needles will actually trigger the body's release of opioid molecules, which are natural pain-relieving molecules that our body produces on its own.
Endorphins and cathephrins, opiates that our body produces to kill pain.
So the needle in the skin triggers that cascade.
Okay.
Other things, they've put people under like a functional MRI, where they're being constantly monitored with the MRI. They put the needles in, and they've shown that needling will affect the centers in the brain that handle pain. It almost like turns down the volume in the brain of how you interpret that pain. So it can shift that. Also, throughout the body, in their arms and legs and knees and joints and all that, you've got these pain receptors, your nervous system. So putting a needle in there, maybe brushing up against those nerve tissue, changes the signals up to the brain that interpret pain. So a couple different explanations.
Now, just to add on to that, there are still clinics in China that will offer anesthesia or acupuncture during surgery to try and kill off the pain. And it's fascinating to see the effects of that. But the qi definition that I always like is life force, because and here's the segue into when we look at treating pain. You're putting needles in different parts of the body, but these will target different meridians. And for those that don't know, the Chinese had mapped out different meridians over thousands of years. And the closest thing that I can give an example of is one like either referred pain, where like a heart attack will cause sometimes left arm pain or indigestion, or gallbladder will cause certain types of referral pain. But even simpler than that, sometimes you can itch one part of your body and then feel it like on the opposite side in another part of your body. And so these things are all connected. So so other than pain, what does acupuncture treat?
A wide variety of things. Like Dr. Dan was saying, acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. Before we had all these MRIs and CT scans and lab work even, and so acupuncture can be used to treat digestive disorders. It can be used to treat migraines, stress, you know, depression, anxiety, mental, emotional things, ADHD, behavioral issues in kids. I've seen that be helpful. So a wide variety of things, and also, you know, joint pain, back pain, neck pain, headaches. Yeah, yeah.
When I was going through my acupuncture studies, there was a story that was a very, very fascinating story. But one of the students that was in class, they were learning about different acupuncture points that you only use in certain circumstances. And the instructor that I was learning from, who had the longest, the very first and the longest acupuncture certification program in the U.S. for chiropractors, he gave a story of, you know, when he would bring students to China, and they would go in some of these hospitals where they would offer acupuncture for anesthesia or whatever. And in China, they would have, you know, the families would want boys. And so anyway, we were going over the acupuncture points that would cause an abortion.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And,
well, yeah.
And so anyway, he said, you know, there was a small elevator, and said we had 22 people, and, you know, they said, wait for the elevator. I said, no, the hell with this, let's just take the stairs. And they had the aborted fetuses in jars up there,
Geez.
which was interesting. But here's the fascinating thing, is that one of the students, once he learned this, he runs out to the hallway, throws up, and leaves. Okay, leaves his computer there, the whole 9 yards. So Dr. Morrow, he gathers his stuff up and you know, hopes that he comes back the next day. And so the next day he comes back in, and he says, you know, what the hell happened to you? You know, you had the flu or flu poisoning or what? This guy was trying to help his wife with her pregnancies, and she kept having miscarriages. And the way he was interpreting, because he didn't have the knowledge to go through and correctly treat her, he was actually triggering miscarriages. And so they had 6 in a row, and got that straightened out. But anyway, so afterwards they had plenty of kids.
Yeah.
But the point being is that it's so powerful that you can have these tremendous effects on the body.
Yeah.
You know, and so aside from that, you know, we've seen tremendous effects on the different disease processes and whatnot. But you want to go to someone who actually has some knowledge and experience with it, because there's a lot of different acupuncture philosophies.
Yeah. And we learned those points in school, the the red flag ones, the ones that you do not do in pregnancy. So, and I've heard stories from colleagues about, you know, patients where the baby's flipped and it's not in the right position and they're about to deliver, you know, a couple weeks out, and do certain needle protocols, and the baby will actually flip and get right into position. They're not breached anymore.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So it's powerful.
Now, you are also have an advanced certification in addiction acupuncture. I want to share what that's all about.
Yeah, so a couple of years back, I did some additional training through an organization called NADA, N-A-D-A, so it stands for National Acupuncture Detoxification Association. And in this certification, in this training, I've learned certain protocols to help with coming off of addiction, whether that's hard drugs like heroin, methamphetamines, or alcohol addiction for alcoholics, and even tobacco too. That's not an easy thing to kick. So doing a certain protocol of needles in the ears can really help with that. Cuts back on cravings, also addresses the mental emotional side of addiction and recovery. And so we're seeing some really exciting things with that too.
Yeah, we had a patient, pack and a half a day of cigarettes she was smoking, and it was fascinating because within the first week she was down to like 4 a day.
Yeah.
You know, so aside from saving money, she's saving her life.
And that's not like an isolated story. one of the first patients I did that ear acupuncture program on, he'd smoked for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
We got through the program, within the first couple of weeks, he was not smoking at all, and he never touched it again.
That's great.
Followed up with
That's
him
great.
again a year later, and he was still clean, he still wasn't smoking.
So staying ahead of the curve, at Downtown Gilbert Healthcare, we are combining the addition acupuncture with our Suboxone program in order to help people that have gotten, hooked on heroin and pain medication and that sort of thing. And so no one wants to be on that stuff, and the trouble is it's such a powerful thing to get hooked on, and before you know it, you're about the last one that realizes you got the problem. And but this is something that kind of supercharges the effects of the program in order to get people off of